Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and before we get started, I'd like to give a huge shout out to all of you guys because we have reached 100 subscribers. This is our 100 subscriber celebration video, so in light of that and such a big landmark for me, I think today we're going to do something a little different. Today I'm going to be telling the story of how I totaled my first truck, a 2015 TRD Pro Tacoma. Now, I don't think I've ever told this story on a public platform such as social media. I've really only told it to people that are close to me or that I know in person, so I believe this is going to be the first time this story's ever been put out there. On my Instagram, I post about it before, like I think the day after it happened or like the same week, and most recently I posted some pictures letting you guys know I'll release the story once we hit 100 subscribers. But I've never told the full story. So tonight we are going to be unveiling that entire story and what went down that night. So before we jump into the accident, I'll give a little bit of background. So I started driving in high school, not at the usual out of the gate age like 16. I started driving around my senior year when I was 17, and I was fortunate enough to get my hands on a 2015 TRD Pro Tacoma. It was just gorgeous. It was blacked out from bumper to bumper, had the TRD Pro wheels, the grille, the suspension. The only modification I got to do to it in my short time of having it was put a light bar on the top, but that's all it needed. The thing was just beautiful. It was the best first vehicle anybody could have asked for. So fast forward a year, I'm moving up to college. I'm in college my freshman year, going to Channel Islands, which is in Camarillo, California. It's right up PCH, right off the exit where the Point Mugu Naval Base is. And if you don't know Camarillo at all, it is complete farmland. Like, my school's campus is isolated and the nearest town is 15 minutes away, and it's all farmland between that and all around me. With it being farmland, there's a few things that go along with this. One, there's no street lights, no overhanging street lights unless you're at an intersection with signals and street lights. Two, to help with flooding, they have these huge trenches on each side of the road, and these are 2-lane roads, just one way each. The school is also about 10-15 minutes away from the nearest beach, so that was nice. And that's what kind of leads us into our story. So being isolated in the middle of nowhere in a small town, you can imagine there's nothing to do there, except go to the beach. So one night, me and my friend decide to hop in my truck and we are gonna go down to PCH and hang out on a beach at night. So it's about 2 in the morning and we're driving down these 2-lane roads with no guardrails, deep trenches on the sides, and no streetlights. It's just us at 2 in the morning in a truck. And we're going down one of these roads, and the road has a big broad curve in it. So I'm driving, and as I'm driving, my passenger says, "What are those people doing?" And I'm trying to process what she just said because it's 2 in the morning in the middle of nowhere basically. So I'm like, who is she talking about? And I look over and notice she's not on her phone, she's looking straight ahead. And the A-pillar of the truck was blocking out the curve of the road. The degree of angle was being blocked out perfectly by the A-pillar. So I lean over and I see a vehicle's headlights in our lane coming head on at us, and they are right there. So as soon as I see them, off-road instincts kick in, quick response time, I cut the wheel and go into their lane. And if I had hesitated a second sooner, I wouldn't be here today telling you guys this story, because as I skirt off into her lane, the vehicle comes and her front right wheel clips my back right wheel and rips out the axle and drive shaft, sending my truck onto its bumper with the wheels and axle and drive shaft behind it into a tailspin and back down into those big ditches for floods. Now keep in mind, these are big deep ditches for like floods when it rains out there. So if I were to stand in that ditch, I'd probably be eye level with the road, maybe 5-6 feet deep. So our truck goes backwards into a spin down into this ditch. This is all within a split second too. It's from seeing it to turning, getting hit, sent backwards into the ditch. And luckily that's all that happened. We didn't roll, that would have been terrible. We just slid backwards into a ditch, the smoothest accident I could have asked to be in. So dust settles, we're both kind of in shock, and I just get out of the truck and I'm like, okay, well, I'm okay, so let's evaluate the situation. Keep in mind, no street lights. The only lights on that road would have been headlights. So it is pitch black out there. My headlights are shooting straight in the sky because I'm backwards in a ditch. My light bar won't even help at this point. And I think to myself, okay, I need to go check on these people because I don't even see their vehicle. So I see a big trail of just debris, glass, plastics, everything, all scattered across the road. And I kind of see a car way off in the distance, kind of blending in with the dark night sky. And I walk over there, and I'm thinking to myself, well, I don't know what the situation is here. I don't know if they were intoxicated, if they have weapons or what, but I should play this safe. So I kind of walk like halfway between our two vehicles, and I start calling out to them. I said, hello, is anybody there? Are you guys okay? And this vehicle is just upside down in the ditch, just terrible. And I'm like, okay, well, I want to make sure somebody's okay, but I don't want to approach this vehicle that's upside down in the middle of the night with no one near us. So I call out a few times, I hear no response. I kind of sit there quietly and try to listen to hear if I hear anybody like moaning or groaning or, some rumbling like they're trying to get out. I hear nothing, so I'm like, okay, let me go back and call the police. So I go back and I call the police, try to give them our location, but it was kind of difficult because the road we were on shares a name with another road on the opposite end of town. So I call them, give them our location, and they know where we're at, they're on their way. In the time of us sitting there waiting for the cops, 2 cars drive by. The first one comes by and these people are like, oh my God, are you okay? What's wrong? And I'm like, I told them what happened, we got in an accident. We're fine. I tried checking on the car down there, but I didn't get any response. Maybe you want to go check on them. And they said, okay. So they drive off. And then 5 minutes later, a second car pulls up, and what are the odds? I know the person that's in it. So she's like, oh my God, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, we're fine. But I don't know about the people down there. You might want to go check on them. She says, okay. Before she drives off, she checks me out because I think she was a medical student. So she was able to make sure that me and my passenger were okay before leaving us there. And she leaves. About 10 minutes later, the cops show up. And I start to tell them this whole story, tell them what happened, and said, those people down there, I haven't heard anything from them, you might want to go check on them. So they send some officers down there while I'm talking to other officers and paramedics and everything. And maybe about 10 minutes later, the cops come back to me and say, there's nobody down there. And I'm like, what do you mean no one's down there? They said, the windshield is missing. She kicked it out and there's nobody there. And I said, how is that possible? Because this car rolled, just tumble all the way into a ditch. Intoxicated or not, you would be completely messed up from that. They said, no, we infrared scanned the entire field and we are getting no heat signals. Now keep in mind, like I said, the nearest town's 15 minutes away, and that was the opposite way of the way we were going. So there's no way she left on foot. So after reevaluating the story, maybe like a week or 2 later, it kind of occurred to me maybe that first car picked her up and dipped with her, but I don't know. That was never fact checked or anything, so I don't know really what happened to her, but she had disappeared. So that night kind of comes to a wrap up. They tow my truck away and I go back to school. And now it's like 3 in the morning. I'm sitting in my dorm room like, well, I can't sleep and I have class tomorrow. So I kind of skipped classes the rest of the week. I'm a little traumatized. The day after the accident, I went back to the scene of the crash just because I really didn't feel like going to class. I was kind of messed up mentally from that, but I go back to the scene and still there are just shards everywhere. And in the ditch from her car flipping so many times and landing upside down, I found a bunch of her personal belongings in this ditch. I found her front license plate, which was ripped off. I found a lot of paperwork. There was a folder of paperwork that had her name, address, vehicle information, service records. So by collecting all these personal items and stuff, I was able to use that with the insurance company. Now maybe 3 days after the accident goes by and my insurance company called me and says, good news, we got more information on her. I said, oh great, how? They said, we found her in a hospital. So 3 days after the accident, we finally find out where this girl went. She's in a hospital. So with finding her and having all of her information, they start to piece everything together. And it was sort of a blessing in disguise that she had left, because now she's completely 100% at fault. Not that she wasn't before, but this is making it a lot easier on me that she left the scene of the accident, because now it's 100% her fault. And that helped me out a ton on the insurance end of everything and liability. So after some time, I got to the scrapyard where they towed my vehicle, and I got to see it. And the thing was just completely destroyed from the bed back. The leaf springs were just exploded. The shocks were just ripped apart. One of the wheels, I think it was the one she hit, just got completely exploded and tacoed in. Taco. And that wheel that exploded, I actually ended up finding a shard of it, a nice piece of the beadlock lip at the scene of the accident, so that was cool. I kept that for a while. I also found one of my taillights at the scene of the accident too. I kept that for a while too. But yeah, the bed was just crushed in on one side, drive shaft, axle, everything in the bed of the truck, shocks ripped out, leaf springs ripped out. And the guy said, "You think yours is bad, you should go look at hers." And I said, "You have her car?" And they said, "Yeah, it's right over there." And this thing was destroyed. Like, my truck was bad from the bed back. Like, the cab up was perfect. It was totally fine. But bed back was destroyed. But her car, from rolling and landing in that ditch all the way around, it just got destroyed. It was terrible. And from looking at her vehicle, she had a bunch of like clothes in her vehicle. It almost looked like she was like running away from home or something, which made kind of no sense with the direction she was coming or something. I don't know the story behind that, but she had a bunch of clothes and personal belongings in that vehicle, which I found kind of weird. So after all of that was done, dust starts to settle. It took a few more, I'd say months maybe, to get everything completely finalized, but at the end of it all, huge payout. The insurance company cut me exactly what we had paid for the truck after a year of driving it. So it was almost as if I got to borrow that car for free for a year, because the insurance check was the exact amount that we paid for it. And that is how I ended up getting the truck I have now, my 2014 TRD Sport. I opted out of the four-wheel drive. I went down a trim just to save that extra money and put all that money into upgrades to what my truck is now. So that is the story of how I totaled my 2015 TRD Pro Tacoma. I guess when you listen to it, I wasn't the one that totaled it, it was her. If anything, I saved my life. So I guess I have to give a huge thanks to her for cutting me that nice check by leaving the scene of an accident. I have to thank off-roading for giving me fast reflexes to dodge her vehicle and not be dead today. And yeah, that is the story of how I totaled my 2015 TRD Pro Tacoma. Thank you guys so much for listening to my story. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section about the story. Let me know if you believe in any paranormal activity and thought that she was a ghost that just disappeared, because I did for a while. And again, thank you so much for the 100 subscribers. It is a huge milestone for me. I was looking to hit that goal of 100 by the end of 2020, and we exceeded it a lot sooner than I thought we would. So if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe, let your friends know about the channel, and check out some of the other videos I have posted. Thank you guys, and I'll catch you in the next video.